Hi folks, welcome to another Third World Garage video. Today's is an update on the little Mini Cooper. I've had it since, I don't know, for about 8 months now, and I've only managed to put 2,000 miles on it. Unfortunately, it's as unreliable as you imagine they would be. I don't drive it as my daily, and there's good reason. It actually sat for 2 months in my driveway because I got so disgusted with the thing from having to work on it, and I know how to do the work. And it got so bad, well, after 2 months the rear brakes stuck, the pad stuck to the rotors, and I had to actually chip brake pad off of the rear brakes. But it seems to stop okay, and I haven't changed that yet. What things have gone wrong? Well, now it's pulling a code P1477, which is an evaporative emissions code. The air conditioning, if you're wondering why the glove box is out, well, the blend door actuator would go hot, then cold, then hot, then cold at random. Now, I just rebuilt this controller that's in here, and it seems to work. It seems to stay at one thing. I also had the power window motor fail. Now, because this one was made June instead of May of 2005, the window motor was going to be almost $190 just for the motor. So what I put in it is a Chinese motor and track assembly for an earlier model, 2002 to 531 of 2005 Mini Cooper, and it seems to work just fine if you put the whole assembly in. And that was 50 bucks. So quite a bit different. And let's see here, what else has gone wrong? Oh yes, the steering column under hard cornering will shift back and forth. And it seems to be the sliding mechanism that is used to as part of the energy absorption feature of the column. So no easy fix there. It also still needs a headliner. The tape stripes, which are not original Mini, are obviously failing, cracking. But the hood itself, you can see here, from about here to here, somebody sat on it at some point and pushed out the dent. They didn't do a real perfect job of it. And so I got to try to figure out if I can find a place that can straighten it. It's got a big bulge right here where it's high, and same here, and then a low here, low here, low here, low here. So do I just find another hood, or do I paint it when I fix it and paint it? Because the front bumper needs to be fixed and painted too, because this car had a clear bra on it at some point, and whoever took it off gouged the hell out of the paint on it. Now these are minor things. The engine, it runs good, but the transmission that I rebuilt, unfortunately, that rocks in a coffee can sound that comes from the reverse idler gear, it's still there, even though I have a new reverse idler gear in it and all new bearings in it. It is the reverse idler gear, and if you watch my other videos on that transmission, you can see I documented that that's exactly where that noise is coming from. I would put the 6-speed in it, but I paid $1,900 for this car. You're talking about another $1,000. I've already put $1,500 into repairs in this car. I don't, in the previous owners, I had receipts for $4,500 in repairs from the previous two owners from the last like 12,000 miles that the car has existed. It's only got 85,000 on it right now. And it costs an absolute fortune to run this thing. That's why I don't drive it every day. I mean, I love to take care of the little cosmetic blemishes, redo the headliner, maybe find a replacement driver's seat, but this is a very rare interior color, at least as far as what I found in junkyards, being the Cordoba beige or Cordoba brown. I mean, hell, if you're gonna name it Cordoba, it should basically be Corinthian leather, and it's not. So, you know. But in terms of other things that I've done, well, I did find an IKEA hack for these cars. This little tray here that I'm using as a cargo tray, that's actually a shoe tray they sell at IKEA for $5, and it fits perfectly from here to here. Not from side to side, but from place to place there, it fits perfectly. You got to remember to take that rag off the license plate. I just don't want everybody knowing where I live. Also, I did manage to get a deal on a tail light that wasn't all cloudy, and I paid $5 for the tail light. The headlights they were $75 for the pair. I found them on Craigslist. And, other than that, the car runs and drives. Every option works in it. The stereo leaves something to be desired. I did replace the radio. I replaced the volume knob. That cost $15 for the little rubber volume knob. I'm not kidding. That's how much they cost. And so I replaced that, and I put another used radio out of an 06 in it, because the original one, the volume control is just doesn't listen to what you're doing unless you're using the steering wheel controls, because they use a very cheap trim pot very cheap little potentiometer or rheostat to run the volume control in these cars from the factory. As far as those little and I don't understand that. The radio was made by Alpine, but then again, Alpine's quality kind of went in the toilet too, so who knows. I'd like to get the little flags off, but I think the paint underneath is probably way more faded than that, and it'll look worse, so I leave them on there. Oh yeah, and another lovely thing. This car, it has the black headliner, and I really like that. What I don't like is, for a car with this many miles, it came like that. Try finding another black sun visor for one of these cars. Saw that, but yeah, there it is. They simply don't seem to exist. I did do have a replacement for this trim around the sunroof though, because previous owner had glued that in place with rubber cement and ruined both trim pieces. So there's the messy truth of how this car is. Suspension's fine, the brakes are fine. I even popped the hood. I always loved the way the hood's popped on these. These cars have some really great design elements. But it actually gives me a chance to look at the... Oh, there we go. There's my 1477 code right there. That's an easy fix. That's going to be a really easy fix. And that's just another piece of hose. So, at least that's going to be cheap. But, yeah, if you have a hankering for one of these cars and you don't know what you're doing with mechanical things, you just stay away from them. Yeah, and another little thing, why they put tape over here instead of a plug like here, I don't know. I wonder why the wheel arch, the inner wheel arches are missing, the inner wheel trims are missing, because I never got around to putting them back on because so much is wrong with this car. I left the bumper partially attached and everything, and things just keep going wrong with it. And it's just, I don't get around to it because I just am pissed off at the car. Like I said, I let it sit for 2 months after putting all that work into it, rebuilding the transmission, putting in a new clutch, replacing all 4 wheels worth of brakes, replacing the front struts, strut mounts, the bump stops, the radio, the hood struts I replaced too, put new hood struts in it, the headlights, the one tail light, and everything else. And I was just bleeding money on this car, and so I stopped and just drove my daily driver and sat with a window down and a tarp over it for the majority of the hot Florida summer. Mostly because, to be honest, I don't want to work on anything when it is 95 degrees out with 100% humidity and raining every day. It's just torture. But now that it's fall, I'm kind of revisiting the little car again, using it to do my yard sale runs on the weekend, between that and my truck. But at any rate, that's what's going on with the little Mini Cooper. Unfortunately, it's proving to be as much of an annoying little car to have as their reputation is. If it wasn't for the transmission issue, the rest of the stuff would be easy to solve. But the transmission parts, you can buy a whole transmission from BMW, but they don't give you any servicing information, and they will not sell you service repair parts for the transmission. The transmission, by the way, is I think $3,000 to $4,000 from BMW, or I'm sorry, Mini. And for a car that was intended as a 1.6 liter single cam 115 horse engine, requires premium gas. For a car that was a little subcompact car without a performance engine, even though they want you to have the gas of a performance engine, that is extremely expensive. It was extremely expensive when this car was new. This particular car stickered at $22,000 in 2005. Now, you could have bought two 125 horsepower Nissan Sentras for that kind of money, or well, close to it back then. It didn't have any more horsepower than, say, a basic Kia or Nissan, or well, maybe a little bit more than a Toyota Yaris, but not by much, maybe 10 more horsepower than a Yaris. And the Yaris had a chance of being reliable. This never did. A lot of ABS plastic everywhere. Really, really cheap stuff on the interiors. Nice interior, interesting interior, but these are the sports seats, and the bottom adjuster goes out on them, and they have no support whatsoever. Now, there are good things about it. If you drive one of these cars, you'll love it. I actually do like the car because I love the way it drives. I run out of nerve before I run out of ability with the car going around a corner, because this thing just handles amazingly well. The steering, it's like using a micrometer to steer the vehicle, because the steering is so precise. BMW does a really nice job with steering. It starts every time. But then again, when I got it, it had a new starter, new battery, and also the troublesome power steering pump had been replaced. The power steering pump fan had been replaced. The reservoir that always goes out here for the coolant, because it's over the exhaust, that had been replaced. All that had been done. I did go ahead and replace the power steering hoses. I did find that the crank angle sensor was leaking, and that's what killed the power steering pump. But the mechanics who fixed that didn't bother replacing the 5-cent O-ring. I bought a $15 set of Viton oil rings and O-rings, a whole box of them, and replaced it, because I am not having this thing kill that power steering pump, which cost over $1,200 to have replaced when the previous owner had it done. These cars are no joke expensive to fix. So, anyways, yeah, just remember, if you want one of these cars, I wouldn't have it if you're going to long distance commute it. Wouldn't have one as your only car if you're going to sit there and have it and you don't know how to fix a car, because it's going to break all the time, and it's going to cost a lot of money, especially when you're paying $120, $150 an hour shop labor fees, when, by the way, a clutch job on this car is over $1,000. The parts are only about $120 of that, because it's, I believe, somewhere in the 10 to 14 hours worth of labor amount. Probably a pro will do it around 10. If you're an amateur and you're doing it in your driveway on your back, count on 14 to 15 hours worth of labor, because you have to rip everything on the car apart. The only thing that stays in it is the engine. But anyways, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and please comment. If you think I'm completely wrong about these cars, then go ahead and comment that. If you think I'm right, comment that. If you have any questions about it and about my ownership experience and my experience repairing it, go ahead and ask. Thank you for watching.